another pause. Tim watched the Tyrannosaurus. The head was huge. The animal looked from the vehicle to the other, and then back again. It seemed to stare right at Tim. The greatest predator the world has ever known. The most fearsome attack in human history. Somewhere in the back of this publicistic brain, Dr. Ed was still writing copy. But he could feel his knees beginning to shake uncontrollably, his trousers flapping like flags. Jesus, he was frightened. He didn't want to be there, alone among all the people in the two cars. Ed Riggs knew that the dinosaur attack was like. He knew what happened to people. He had seen much management bodies that had resulted from a raptor attack. He could picture it in his mind. And this was a T-Rex. Much, much bigger. The greatest meat eater that ever walked the earth. Jesus. When the Tyrannosaur roared, it was terrifying, a scream from some other world. Ed Riggs felt the spreading warmth of his trousers. He peed in his pants. He was simultaneously embarrassed and terrified, but he knew he had to do something. He couldn't just stay there. He had to do something. Something. His hands were shaking, trembling against his dash. Jesus Christ, he said again. Bad language! Tim heard the sound of a door opening, and he swung his head away from the Tyrannosaurus, night vision goggles sticking laterally, in time to see Ed Riggs stepping out through the open door, ducking his head in the rain. Hey! Where's he going? Ed Riggs had just turned and ran out the opposite direction from the Tyrannosaurus, disappearing into the woods. The door to the Land Cruiser hung open. The parallel was getting wet. He left. He left us alone? Where'd he go?
He left us. Tim, what's going on?
Tim leaned forward and tried to shut the door from the back seat. He couldn't reach the handle. He looked back at the Tyrannosaurus as the flashing light again momentarily silhouetting the huge black shape against the white flaring sky.
Tim, what happened? He left us.
Tim blinked to recover his vision. When he looked again, the Tyrannosaurus was standing there, exactly as before, motionless and huge. Rain dripped from its jaws. The forelimbs gripped in the fence. And then Tim realized the Tyrannosaurus was holding the fence. The fence wasn't electrified anymore?
Max, close the door. Tim! I'm here. What's going on?
Dad ran away.
Hey, what?
Ran away. I think he saw the fence was Max, close the door.
He left us! He left us! There was nothing for Tim to do but to climb out to the back door into a slashing rain and shut the door for her. Thunder rumbled and the lightning flashed again. Tim looked up and he saw the Tyrannosaurus crashing down the cyclone fence with his giant hindly limbs. Timmy! He jumped back in the slamming door and lost all the thunder collapse.
Tim, are you there? I'm here. Lock the doors, get in the middle of the car, and shut up.
Outside, the Tyrannosaurus rolled its head and took an awkward step forward. The claws of its feet had caught on the grid flattening fence. Lex saw the animal finally and became silent. Still, she watched with wide eyes.
Tim, stay in the car. Stay down. Don't make a move. And don't make a noise. You should be right. I'll make you open the car.
Okay.
Just stay quiet so you won't arouse its attention any more than necessary.
Okay, do you hear that, Lex?
Uh-huh. In the glaring of the light, they saw it pull free of the fence and taking a bounding step forward. Now it was standing between the two cars. Tim couldn't see Dr. Grant's car anymore because the huge body blocked his view. The rain ran in volutes down the pebbly skin of the muscular hind legs. He couldn't see the animal's head, which was high above the roofline. The Tyrannosaurus moved around the side of the car. It went to the very spot where Tim had gotten out of the car. Where Regins had gotten out of the car. The animal paused there, his big head ducked down towards the mud. Tim looked back at Dr. Grant and Dr. Malcolm in the rear car. Their faces were tense as they stared forward through their windshield. The huge head raised back up, jaws open, and then stopped by the side windows. In the glaring of the lightning, they saw the breeded, expressionless reptile's eye moving in stop. It was looking in the car. His sister's breathing became ragged. Frightened and gasped, he reached out and squeezed her arm, hoping she would stay quiet. The dinosaur continued to stare for a long time through the window. Perhaps the dinosaur wouldn't really see them, he thought. Finally, his head lifted up, out of view again.
Timmy? It's okay, I don't think you saw it.
He was looking back towards Dr. Grant when a jolting impact rocked the Crusader and shattered the windshield in the spider web as the Tyrannosaurus head crashed against the hood of the Land Crusader. Tim was knocked flat on the seat. His night vision goggles slid off his forehead. They got back up quickly, blinking as the darkness, his mouth warmed with blood.
Next.
He couldn't see his sister anywhere. The Tyrannosaurus stood near the front of the Land Crusader, with his chest moving as breath and forward limbs making clawing movements in the air.
Next.
Tim whispered. Then he heard her groan. She was lying somewhere on the floor underneath the front seat. Then the huge head came down, entirely blocking the shattered windshield. The Tyrannosaurus banged against the front hood of the Land Crusader. Tim grabbed the seat as the chair rocked on its wheels. The Tyrannosaurus banged it twice more, denting the metal. Then it moved around the side of the car, the head raised, tail blocking his view out of all the side windows. At the back, the animal snorted. A deep rumbling growl that blended with the thunder. It sank its jaws into the spare tire, mounting it back on the Land Crusader in a single death shake, tore it away. The rear of the car lifted into the air for a moment, then it thumped with a muddy splash. There was a shrill metallic scrape as claws ragged into the roof of the car. Tim's heart was pounding in his chest. He couldn't see anything out the windows on the right side except pebbly leather flesh. The Tyrannosaurus was leaning against the car, which rocked back and forth with each breath. The springs and metal creaked loudly. Lex groaned again. Tim put down the radio and started to crawl into the front seat. The Tyrannosaurus roared, and the metal roof dented downward. Tim felt a sharp pain in his head and stumbled onto the paint on the floor, onto the transmission hump. He found himself lying alongside Lex, and he was shocked to see that the whole side of her head was covered in blood. She looked unconscious. There was another piece jolting impact, and a piece of glass fell around him. Tim felt rain. He looked up and saw that the front windshield had broken out. There was just a jagged rim of glass, and beyond him a head of the dinosaur, looking down at him.
Yeah.
Tim felt a sudden chill, and then he heard the rush forward toward him, the jaws open. There was a squeal of metal against teeth, and he felt the hot sinking beneath of the animal, and a thick tongue stuck into the car through the window shield opening. The tongue slapped wetly around inside the car. He felt the hot lather of the dinosaur's saliva. The dinosaur roared. A deafening sound inside the car. The head pulled away abruptly. Tim scrambled up, avoiding the dents of the roof. There was still room to sit onto the front seat of the passenger door. The Tyrannosaurus stood in the rain near the front fender. It seemed confused by what had happened to it. Blood dripped freely from its jaws. The Tyrannosaurus looked at Tim, cocking its head to stare with one big eye. His head moved close to the car, sideways, and peered in. Blood spattered into the dented hood of the Land Crusader mixed with the rain. It can't get to me, Tim thought. It's too big. Then the head pulled away. Into the flare of light, he saw the hind leg lifted up, and the world tilted crazily as if the Land Cruiser had slammed over on its side. The window spattered with the mud. He saw Lex fall helplessly against the side windows, and he fell down beside her, banging his head. Tim felt dizzy. Then the Tyrannosaurus' jaw clamped onto the window frame, and the whole Land Cruiser was lifted up into the air. "Timmy!" She Lex squeaked so nearly to his ears that it hurt. She was suddenly awake, and he grabbed her as the Tyrannosaurus crashed down on the car again. Tim felt a stab pain in his side, and his sister fell on top of him. The car went up again, tilting crazily. Lex shouted, "Timmy!" And there was the door giving away beneath her, as she fell out into the car and into the mud. But Timmy couldn't answer, because the next instant everything went crazily. He saw the truck head of the palm tree and sliding downward past him, moving sideways through the air. He glimpsed on the ground very far below. The hot roar of the Tyrannosaurus, his blazing eyes. The tops of the palm trees. And then, with a metallic scraping shriek, the car fell from the Tyrannosaurus' jaw, a sickening jaw that sent Tim's stomach heaving in the moment before the world came totally black and silent.
Jesus, what happened to the car?
Grant blinked his eyes as the lightning faded. The other car was gone. Grant couldn't believe it. He peered forward, trying to see through the rain-streaking windshield. The dinosaur's body was so large, it probably just blocking. No. In another flash of lightning, he saw clearly. The car was gone.
What happened?
The car's gone.
Faintly, over the rain, Grant heard the sound of a little girl screaming. The dinosaur was standing in the darkness up on the road up ahead, but they could see well enough to know that it was blending over now, sniffing and groaning.
You see?
Not much, no.
Standing a girl? At least a girl.
It did. Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know.